Okay, are we all, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock for May 17th, Monday. And we're going to have a roll call, and I'll start with me. It's Marie Howe, and I'm sitting in my office in Bath Township. Steve?
Steve Westwasser at Charter Township offices.
Thank you. Our clerk?
Butler Challenger at Bath Township.
Thank you. Trustee Benzie? There you are.
Bill Benzie, I'm at my home in Bath Township.
Okay. Trustee Rosencrantz?
Here, I'm in Shelley and Joe's basement, Bath Township.
Okay. Trustee Friedman Bliss?
Here in my home in Bath Township.
Okay. Trustee Amarigi?
Here and in my home in Bath Township.
All right. Thank you all. I'm glad to see that you're all here. Moderator, where's
here?
Just, oh, thank you, Taylor Reeves. You want to give us our communication directions?
Yes. So if you would like to make a public statement when we get to that point, you can raise your hand by dialing *9, or raising your physical hand or your Zoom hand, and then you will be addressed by your screen name or the last 3 digits of your phone number.
All right, thank you. It appears that the civil reflection is myself, so I will say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain. I do have a flag in here, so if you want to put your hand to your heart, please feel free. And it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have a moment of silence. All right, thank you. Item 4, which is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion? Okay, there you go. I love these hands. Thank you, Trustee Amarigi.
I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda. I'd like to add an item under item 12, unfinished business items for action. And so under that, item D, DDA status.
Okay.
So it's 12BD.
All right, so you want to have the DDA action. You don't want any discussion. You want it for action, correct?
Action, please.
Thank you. Any objections? All right, is there any other changes or additions? Nope, doesn't appear to be. Oh, Joe, is that you?
No, I'll second the,
Oh, all right, we have a second. Any discussion? No, let's take a vote.
Butler Challenger, yes. Howe?
Yes,
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Mr. Wisswasser?
Yeah.
Mr. Almarigi?
Yes.
Mr. Benzie?
yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Thank you.
all right, the agenda approval passes. That's unanimous. Do we have a disclosure of conflict? There doesn't seem to be any. So we'll put none. That's item 5. So item 6 is public statements. Taylor?
If anyone would like to make a public statement at this time, you can raise your hand by dialing *9, raising your physical hand or raising your Zoom hand. Phone number ending in 040, you can unmute by dialing *6.
Hello, Will Tyler White calling from Main Street. It's wonderful to see the Downtown Development Authority getting a board appointed. That's great news. It looks like some good people on there. I hope they're ready to hit the ground running, and I hope that the township has staff resources to assist them, because there's a lot to catch up on being out for a year. Anyway, I'm excited to see that, and I'll be at the first meeting, and hope to enjoy the discussion later on about the Downtown Development Authority. And thank you, Treasurer Wiswasser, for getting that paperwork caught up. And thank you for listening.
Would anyone else like to make a public statement at this time? I do not see anyone additional.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. White, and thank you, Taylor. Appreciate it. Is there any discussions for the county, state, federal, or other agencies?
If so, you can dial *9 to raise your hand, or raise your physical hand or Zoom hand. I do not see anyone.
Okay. Yep. So we'll go to item 8, which is the consent agenda, which apparently has received on file a number of our committees with their meeting minutes. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
Mr. Wiswasser,
Yes.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
Yes.
Mr. Fewens Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes.
All right, thank you. Item 9, which is the approval of our minutes from our last meeting, which was May 3rd. Is there anyone who is, Ryan, go ahead.
I would move approval with one small change. Under the resolution to change the Sewer Board of Appeals terms of appointment, my statement is that if this comes back as a resolution, there needs to be a resolution that states be it resolved, not if it comes back as an ordinance amendment. So just a small
Okay.
nuance there.
Okay. Any seconds in discussion? Right, so it appears as if we're going to accept the committees with this small adjustment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Any other discussion or the change? Any other changes? Okay, take a vote.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
Mr. Wiswasser,
Yes.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
Yes.
Mr. Fewens Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes. Ms. Howe,
Yes. Not sure why, but yes. Okay. So we'll go to approval of the vouchers. Item 10. Do I have a second? Well, first I need the
I'll make a motion. to
motion. Thank you.
get it.
Second.
Who's second?
Treasurer Wiswasser.
Oh, thank you. I didn't hear it. Any discussion? All right, let's take a vote.
Mr. Wiswasser,
Yes.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
Yes.
Mr. Fewens Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes. Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Committee appointments, I think this is what you were referencing, Trustee Friedwin Bliss, with regards to Spencer Tesmar. Okay. Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move to appoint Spencer Tesmar to the Sewer Board of Appeals for a term expiring December 31st, 2022.
Second.
Second, okay. Take a vote.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
yes,
Mr. Funes Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Rosecrans,
yes,
Mr. Wisswasser,
Yeah.
All right, that takes
Madam
us,
Supervisor,
yes,
could I just say that, just to be clear for folks, Marie and I spoke in
Yes.
between the meetings. If you watched the meeting from before, I had made the question or asked the question if Mr. Tesmar was a good candidate for the Planning Commission. She indicated she has had that conversation with him, and his schedule at this point wouldn't allow. So I just wanted you all to know that that loop was closed.
thank you. It's appreciated. All right, the next one is the Downtown Development Authority. Now, that, of course, we're going to be doing items for action. I'm sure Jason understands what he's doing, but I'm going to make a quick statement. The Downtown Authority, I'm going to give you a little history, was created in 2012 to boost the economic development in a designated area. Presently, there are 2 members remaining with about 280,000 plus, and I'm sure Treasurer Wisswasser can confirm or deny, whichever that would be, in their budget. The chair's term ended in 2020, while there were 4 members that resigned, making the DDA inoperable, along with the COVID pandemic that hit Bath Township around early 2020, forcing the DDA to stop all projects. At this time, I'm asking the board to do something very new by accepting the appointments as one team. My reason for this move is quite simple. The DDA needs a new team. And as the Bath Township Supervisor, I'm asking this board to support an economic environment for the DDA residents and our DDA businesses. As a supervisor for Bath Charter Township, I am the first to admit the necessity for a better organized DDA and a requirement for what a DDA can do. First, the DDA needs a written contract with our township for a better understanding of each other's responsibilities. The demand for partnership among the Bath Township requires much work, starting with Ordinance 63, Article 2, Section 23.31 through 41, which would be your 23.41 for an update. Many of the responsibilities would be completed with a call of a special meeting between the DDA team, the Bath Charter Township Board of Trustees, and the Township Attorney, whose main mission would be to help us all understand what a DDA's purpose exactly is. With that said, I'm asking for a vote of confidence to confirm the list of members and the staggering appointments. You have a copy of your committee appointments, those who are living in the DDA area and those who are outside the DDA area, along with their staggered appointments. So do I have a second for this? Okay. There's no second, so apparently this is being turned down, correct? Okay, the silence says, so there is no second. Okay, so we go on to unfinished business, which is items for introduction and discussion. I think Treasurer Wisswasser, is this with, do you have the auditor with you?
We don't have our auditor, we have Maynard Caceres from our accounting firm and Aaron Stevens who represents.
Oh, there's Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Oh, okay, hello, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, did I miss somebody else? Is Mr. Stevens the only one?
Yes, that's who
Okay.
we asked to come.
Okay,
We asked, we at the last meeting, we asked if we could, we said we could have our accounting lead come and discuss this with us, or we could have our auditor come, and we decided to have our accounting person come. That's where the audit starts with.
okay. Are there any questions, or are you going?
You want me to take the lead here and
Sure.
start? All right.
Absolutely, thank you.
Back on the last meeting, we received a letter from Department of Treasury, Mr. Mills, and actually I'm the one that received the letter because I'm the one of record of the DDA as far as what goes on. I'm the one that they talk to on a regular basis. And it talked about our form that we got, the new Public Act 57 that talked about that went into effect in 2018, which we were in compliance with. And it talks about what your financial year-end report is. We also, it's a new form relatively from the state treasury. We filled it out myself, and at the time we had a coordinator, Brian Shorkey, our planning commission. He filled out and turned in the ordinance as well as the tax increment financing plan and turned that in. I handled the financial end of it as I always do. And I turned in the paperwork for the 2018 piece of this. Now, with that being said, in 19, as we talked about, we didn't have it was a little bit different because we didn't get our audit done until we had filed for 3 extensions due to COVID because the township offices was closed from February through pretty close to June 1st. And we didn't have staff on hand. They did come in and they did do the audit, and we had it done. And we, after the 3rd extension, we was able to turn it in, just as a lot of people were late getting the 2019 audit in, but we got ours in, we got it approved, we were passed, we didn't have any problem. And there is a copy of the DDA activity in the 2019 audit at the back of the audit, because they are a component of our audit. 2020 came about the same way. However, we still had the COVID and the pandemic. There was a very big restriction on meetings. We had no meetings. The DDA never met once. And my information, what I have, they never had a meeting in 2020. 2020, they never took and appointed people to the term to the DDA board. Therefore, we didn't have any expenditures. We didn't have any way of approving any reports or approving anything. So 20 went on by, and it's a 0. I have that one on my desktop as well. That's a 0 report as far as the dollars for expenses. As far as what the funding was, the taxes all got collected and the tax increment all got deposited into the DDA's account, and they still have their money just the same as they would have if they'd had a meeting every month. The tax part of it, they still captured all their tax revenue. We got a letter from Jim Mills from the Department of Treasury, and his person, it's actually my copy, signed from Jim Mills, and saying that we had until July, actually we have till July 4th to be in compliance, or we'll be out of compliance with the DDA. And I asked the question from our accounting staff, who I usually go through for this type of stuff, and I talked to Aaron Stevens and whether or not the township board had the authority to take and approve this and send it on, or whether we had to wait for a DDA board, but we haven't had a DDA board in over a year, so how to handle this. And he indicated at that time that the township board could step in and take care of the DDA's business on a basis, because we're the only ones that's here, which is what's taken place, I might add, for the whole year of 2020. There was numerous things that had to be taken care of, that the township had to step forward and take care of. But I asked if we could have Aaron come and talk about the compliance issue. It is going to be, they're working on it with our 2020 audit, our Sickfield and Crandall, our auditors now. And they're looking at it as a possibility. The last email I got is a possibility that it was going to be a compliance issue, but it's unclear whether it really is or not, because if they're going to get the audit done, and which my understanding is in proofreading right now, it really won't be, because at that point in time, if the numbers match up with my numbers, then I'll send the report on to the Department of Treasury, and it won't be a compliance issue. So it's kind of a mess, but here it's like everything we've ever dealt with these folks. It's a very complicated thing. I asked for Aaron, if the board, the last meeting, if Aaron would be okay to have Aaron come and answer any of your questions about the DDA and the township's role and this compliance issue and everything else that we have, and any other questions we may bring forward tonight to talk to him about. So Aaron, how am I doing so far? Have I bored you to death?
No. I just have a couple of, I think, points of clarification. The letter that you received is indicating that you're not in compliance with the 2019 reporting. So that would be the finding, if you had one from your auditor.
Okay.
Because at this point, you're not, I guess you're still in compliance for 2020, or you're not in non-compliance, let me put it that way, because you still have time to get that report filed before the due date. So
Right.
the issue would be the 2019 filing. The form itself is not terribly complex, but as you said, it is relatively new. This didn't start until, the Public Act was Public Act, what was it, 57? 57 of 2018. So that's when the new reporting requirements kicked in. And you mentioned you filed the first one. This 2019 would be the second one that would have had to been filed. So that's the one that's missing. It sounds like you've already done that filing. If I heard it correctly.
Filed it. Was my understanding you had to file them both at the same time.
Yeah.
19 and 20 at the same time.
Mhm.
I don't, I haven't filed, I've been done, it's on my computer, obviously they all are. And it's the same, it's very similar to the audit, and the last page of the audit from 19. Obviously, we haven't filed 20s because I haven't got a copy of my 2020 audit, but 20 is different from 19. 19, and I have them both right here in front of me. 19's got $2,500 worth of expenditures, and $69,000 worth of tax capture from Lansing Community College, Bath Township Public Safety, and Bath Township General Operating. 20 has the same amount of capture, but it has no expenditures because the DDA basically, the DDA was in existence with no board members. Or without a board meeting, let's put it that way. There's a lack of, my understanding is there was a lack of board members, plus there's a lack of board members, plus there was no meetings.
So the consequence of not being in compliance or not getting into compliance by July would be you would not be permitted, the DDA would not be permitted to capture any additional taxes.
Correct.
To further that, the DDA has to spend the money that has been captured in accordance with the plan, the tax increment finance plan. And to the extent that the DDA does not do that, the money would revert back to the originating taxing authorities, being the township and LCC.
Aaron, you've read our tax increment financing plan. Are you up to speed on that enough to talk about that, what it is, or?
Probably not. It's been a while since I referred to that. I did spend some time with the Public Act today, but not your plan specifically.
Yeah. In the event that this money goes back to the taxing authorities, so that in the event that the DDA was no longer to be active, would that mean if the township was going to dissolve this, what are the options of the money and what happens? And I realize you read the Public Act today, so you understand, because our TIF plan actually mirrors the Public Act as far as what happens to the money. But can you tell us what happens here if the DDA was dissolved with these funds?
Yeah, you'd have to determine what the allocation. You have to determine where the money came from. Where were the taxes captured from? Between how much was township tax revenue and how much was LCC tax revenue that was captured, and that would have to be reverted back to those taxing authorities in their respective percentage.
Is there interest involved in that, or does it go back just as what they were captured as at the time?
I apologize. I would have to look into that further. I didn't see anything in the act that referred to interest.
I thought of that today I didn't see anything that talked about that. In the event, so the Bath Township LCCs is fairly simple. It's pretty straightforward. And it all is as far as the dollar amounts, the total dollar amounts, because we settle with the county treasurer and we agree on this before the capture and we settle on it in settlement at the end of the year as well. So we know how much money we have captured of the amount that is levied. Now, with that being said, there's two pieces of this. There's the public safety fund millage, which is the Bath Township Police and Fire millage, that they capture all of that, and they capture the township operating. What's the restrictions on that money and how that money goes back? If it went back, how would it go back to the township? As far as do we have to keep it separate? Does the Bath Township Police and Fire millage, does that millage go back into that? Or since we have general fund contribution to the public safety fund, does that money become general fund balance? What's up with that, I guess?
I would say, and I'm not an attorney, but my thinking on this would be it would have to go back to the police and fire, just like it was captured. So it just as if it were not captured, it would have to go back into those pots of funding. So it would have to be dedicated to police, dedicated to fire, and then you have your general operating millage as well. So it would have to be kind of reimbursed in its appropriate percentages. And I guess, the more I think about it, the interest should follow suit on that. It was as if it hadn't been captured, so you would allocate the interest earnings on that as well.
As far as the earned interest income that we received through the year, that we're with all of our funds we have, it's in is that what you're referring to?
Yes. Yep.
The DDA receives a minute amount, I might add today's rates, a minute amount of interest on its checking account, because the DDA has its own checking account separate from the township's checking account. However, with this brings up a good piece of this, the townships, they all operate, the DDA operates and the township operates, just as what Supervisor Powell said earlier. She started to talk about this. They all operate under the same tax ID number, and they are a component of our audit. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, I mean, the DDA is technically a separate government unto itself, a separate public body. But they are considered a component unit of Bath Charter Township. And so there's a laundry list of criteria to determine whether or not some other entity is considered a discretely presented component unit, a blended component unit, or doesn't belong in the township's financial statements whatsoever. But the DDA, they check the boxes and they are a discretely presented component unit of Bath Charter Township. They are required to have their budget approved by the township board as well as their own board. So there are criteria, there are
Right.
Controlling factors there that the township board does have some control over the DDA's budget. But you do need a board. The DDA does need a board, and you have to have, according to this public act, we would consist of the chief executive officer of Bath Township, as well as not less than 8 or more than 12 members.
Correct.
So you need 8 more members on this board.
So essentially, also what you just said, even though we got our final audit papers back, our paperwork back, and at that time it was Condom, Heck, Bishop and Wade in late July of 2020. It not only should be approved by the audit and the final expenditures and everything should have been approved by the DDA. It would have to be approved by the DDA board, like all vouchers are, same as what it's with the township. You do accepts their audit and places it on file. That the DDA should have been able to accept this audit through the township and placed it on file. So I guess that's my point as far as I brought this to the board because I felt the board here, because we are back in business here for for the most part, and I felt the board ought to be able to view this, because we don't have a DDA board to take and approve the stuff, so we gotta have in the lack of a DDA board, I guess the township board steps in. Is that what you're saying, Aaron?
Well, I think you would have to, but if you read the public act, it's, I mean, there really is no provision for the township board. You need to have a DDA board. It needs to happen. And if you don't, that's where you're not in compliance. If you're not in compliance, you can't capture any more taxes. That's pretty clear. So
you have two issues here that are compliance issues. You not only have not a board, but you didn't the forms were filled out, I might add, but we didn't turn them in because we didn't have a board a DDA board to deal with it. I don't know if this answers any questions for the board members, or if it does or don't.
I have some questions for Mr.
Yes.
Stevens. And forgive me if these are super basic or if they're outside your purview. So do you work with any other municipalities that have DDAs?
yes, yep, several.
So, just out of curiosity, I mean, is it, from an accounting standpoint, is it unduly difficult to expend DDA funds?
No, it's not unduly difficult. I think in my experience, I've had DDAs that maybe have trouble coming up with projects to expend the money on. So you're permitted to accumulate, a few years of tax capture if you have a big project in mind. But if you don't have a project in mind and you're not spending the money, it's supposed to go back. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I have had clients that have accumulated several years worth of capture before they get a larger project at the end.
So, I mean, in your view, our lack of, I mean, so we haven't had a board, and I want to modify Steve's statement about when we last met, the DDA last met. That was, I believe, in March or April of 2020. There was a full DDA board, and at that point, 4 members resigned within a week. But so even what I'm trying to figure out is, even prior to 2020, we've had a DDA for many years. And I'm trying to understand what barriers have been in place that prevented them from expending any of the funds. And so I know that we've purchased Christmas lights and other things, and there's been, I think, approval for other things, but there was never been any action. And so again, I was curious about whether or not, if it was just unduly difficult to expend the funds, but then, relative to other communities that you work with, I mean, would you be in a position to, sort of discuss where Bath Township DDA is in terms of effectiveness?
Well, if you're not spending any money, I don't see how the DDA district is getting improved. So I would say it's rather ineffective. You've got this money that's being captured, but it's not being used in accordance with the plan that was submitted to the state. I think that's kind of the definition of ineffective.
Thank you.
Right. Anybody else? Oh, go ahead, Ryan. I'll hold mine.
Aaron, you've mentioned a couple of the rights and responsibilities of the township board in terms of the DDA. Could you enumerate, I guess, the biggest ones, or the top of mind things that we have control over as the township board and ultimately responsibility for as the township board?
I can tell you what my opinion is, but again, I'm not an attorney. This is probably a legal question, not an accounting question. But to me, I mean, it's relatively clear. I think it's pretty clear in the Public Act. The chief executive officer, in this case supervisor, is tasked with appointing members of the DDA board, which have to be approved by the township board.
Right.
And it's, like I said, not less than 8, not more than 12 members. If that doesn't happen, if you don't have the DDA board appointed and approved by the township board, then I look at this and say, well, then you can't capture any more money. Again, I'm not an attorney. Maybe there's some other legal twist to this, and maybe I'm just not very good at reading the Public Act, but that's what I get out of it. So I think as a board, if you're not going to appoint and approve a DDA governing body, then you're not going to meet the purpose of the DDA board, the DDA district as laid out in the plan. And in that case, this calls for, it says the governing body of the municipality may abolish the tax increment financing plan when it finds that the purposes for which it was established are accomplished. I don't know if you've accomplished your purposes, but if you don't have a board, you can't accomplish your purposes.
Trustee Aberigi, go ahead.
So I did some research today on the issue of DDAs, and I've noticed that quite a few communities are dissolving their DDAs. So Utica, LC, Ann Arbor. Do you have any insight as to why, the major reasons why?
I don't. I mean, I don't work with, you said Utica, LC, and who else?
Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor. Okay.
Yeah.
That's Ann Arbor surprises me. We have audited Ann Arbor. It's been several years now. But they had a very active DDA. So and their DDA actually managed their parking. So that was big business down there. I'm a little surprised to hear that. The other two, maybe they just didn't have enough going on. You know, maybe there just wasn't enough activity in their district, and so they dissolved it. But I'm just speculating. I don't know.
Okay. Well, Superintendent Hildebrand, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Aaron, I'm wondering if you are unable to, during a period of time, capture the tax money, are you able to go back when you're effectively operating later and capture that, or is it's nope, you missed your chance and you're done?
I would think you missed your chance. Again, I'm not an attorney, but if you don't capture it at the time it's levied, I think you missed it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Trustee. I think Trustee Wasser, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
I got several things that I want to make. You made the statement earlier, Bree, about they had in their budget the 280 some thousand. I don't have the exact dollar amount right here in front of me tonight. In their budget, it's in the 280 range. With the last increment, the increment we captured here for the 2020 taxes was roughly $77,000 and some change. And that was deposited into the DDA's separate bank account from the township after tax settlement was completed. There's three things that make up the financial piece of this that we deal with right now as a township treasurer. Any unit treasurer would deal with it. You have capture, which is the amount of money that you capture every year. You have positive capture, negative capture. The positive capture is the amount of money that you collect. You talked about budget. The budget is totally separate. The Bath Township does create a budget, just as Aaron talked about. And that's why they're part of our audit, and typically their budget is in the $20,000 a year range. So this last year you captured $77,000 for 20's taxes, and their budget was the last time was 20 some thousand. I'm not familiar with what it is exactly to the dollar. Last year, they didn't spend any of their money they budgeted for that. And that brings the money back. The money that they didn't spend goes back to what you would call fund balance. The fund balance would be the number that what we talked about a few minutes ago, the 281,000 some change that they have in their account. That makes up the township treasurer's piece that the township does and tracks and takes care of. And right now, the way this thing is set up, and we've had a disbursement policy, we had an opinion from the attorney, we had it look at it. It's the first thing I did when I got back here in 2016, when we started looking at it. The clerk and the treasurer serve as the two signers on the checks, just as they do on everything, every bank account that the township has, because that's the way we're set up to do. And this technically is a township checking account because it's under our tax ID number. So that's interesting, how that works. What Marie talked to me about 2 weeks ago on a Friday, and I believe, I don't know if I heard it tonight in your opening statement or not, but it was similar to what you talked about, was the fact that you would foresee the DDA going out and hiring their own treasurer,
Correct.
having their own director and so forth, and paying these people to do these jobs, which is, if the board so chooses to vote for this, that's fine. But the only thing I asked Aaron to view tonight is can you give us a little insight on how this is going to work? Obviously, here at Bath Township, the treasurer is the keeper of the general ledger, has been for 30-some years, 39 years. This all falls into the township finance program as well. The checking account is part of the township's BSNA accounts payable program, and they're on our tax ID numbers the same. How would this work if they went out and hired their own people to take and have this this thing set up? Would they have to go out and get their own tax ID number, and would the money have to come out of the township's hands? And if that's the case, then would our ordinance have to reflect that? And obviously, would our TIF plan have to reflect that? I guess that's my question to you, Aaron.
Again, I think those are probably some more legal questions, but
Exactly.
what I've seen is municipalities will have a DDA director, especially in smaller, and I don't, I'll call it smaller governments. Ann Arbor was different. That was, like I said, it was a huge thing. And they had all of their own people. But in, someplace the size of Bath Township, I would envision a DDA director, but why duplicate everything else? I don't quite understand that. I think you have some efficiencies to be gained if you still maintain the books within the township hall, and have subject the processes, the receipts and disbursements and so forth to the township's internal controls. To spin them off and just write them a check and say, here you go spend it. I think you lose a lot of those efficiencies in terms of internal controls and processes, software. They would have to, they'd have to have their own general ledger. And why, when the township already has the capability and those resources in place to handle it. But again, my opinion.
Okay, is there anybody else that has a question? Because I do, if that's Mr. Stevens. We are so grateful you're here tonight, to say the least, to help kind of work these knots out. Steve, what I mentioned to you was, that's correct, as a treasurer. Most DDAs do have their own treasurer. They also have the township as a pass-through. So that connection will always be there. Whether it's a fiduciary or not is another question, which Joe and I have been kind of trying to work that knot out. The attorney that I talked with today, in fact, I talked to him this morning, with regards to part of what we've been talking about. The treasurer piece, it isn't a duplication. The DDA is an authority in itself, okay? And I think, at least I hope, that it's not a committee, it's an authority in itself. So that authority in itself does have a treasurer, or can, they have, it's a may, not a shall, for being able to appoint a treasurer. The treasurer takes care of expenditures and et cetera with the approval of the board. There is a connection, there's a partnership. That partnership needs to be worked on, and that's what I'm asking, to be able to understand what a DDA really does. And it's important, Aaron, for you to be able, or Mr. Stevens, I shouldn't call you Aaron. That's kind of presumptuous on my part. But I appreciate that. When in fact you discuss what needs to be done from an auditor's standpoint, the director part and the chief executive, which was Jack Phillips at the time this was done, didn't assign members to this. That was his decision, and I think decision was because they were having issues with the DDA. What I'm asking for is the trust of this township, whether, Steve, you and I did talk about this, and you've told me it's kind of a pain for you to have to deal with it. So what I hope my group will do once they've met with the attorney, once they've met with the board to understand what their authority is, that they will take it upon themselves to be able to govern themselves and take some of that problem out of hand for you. The compliance issue, I also talked with the state on that. And no, you do not have to do them together. You can have a 19. He was very pleased to hear that you may go ahead and do it, so he doesn't have to send you another letter, but you will get another letter if in fact you don't send in 2 reports at one time, if that's understood. So it's not mandated that you do it, if that helps any. And what that report, which is what should have been done a long time ago with DDA areas, is that you're going to have to show who you're actually taking money from. As for not having a board, that part I don't quite understand, because you have your executive director, you have your treasurer, and you had your chair, even though his term was up in 2020, and then you had your 2 people, who were still functioning, which is what I've added to this group, so that there is a full team, not a partial team, so that they can look at these issues as a one group or as a team, as opposed to individually with 1 or 2 people. So having said that, the issue of the treasurer can, I think, be taken care of. As for the separate ID, I don't know that that's an issue. If they need a separate ID, they can get one. The state gives you tax IDs. I've been working with Bath Days for years and years and years, and tax IDs are not that you don't get them, but they're not a penalty to have one, if that's a good word to use. So again, what I'm saying, as from the auditor point of view, the non-compliance issue really is something that I'm not quite sure I understand, only from the standpoint that as a treasurer for the DDA, which again is a separate line item, I don't quite understand why we're not in compliance. I think Trustee Armorgese brings up a really good point when he spoke about when the last time that they had the majority, which of course they needed 1 more to have a quorum to be able to do it. Hang on, Jason, just 1 more second, now quickly. So in closing with that, to let Trustee Armorgese go ahead and say what he needs to say, my point of view is that the DDA can be very functional, should be very functional. It takes care of projects that the township usually doesn't do. If that money needs to be earmarked, then it needs to be earmarked for the fire and police millage that we have. Our schools have opted out, the library opted out. There are those LCC would have opted out, but they ran out of time and apparently didn't understand. And I also talked to them, and they didn't quite get where we were at with it, because they thought they opted out, and of course they hadn't. So the gentleman I talked with, he's a top accountant, is looking for some information from us, which he knew we wouldn't get until this week. So the discussion goes on with the state, with LCC. They're certainly, looking to help with Bath Township, which is what a DDA does. And again, I'm afraid I'm with you, Mr. Stevens. I'm a little surprised at Ann Arbor. I'm not surprised at the other communities if they're opting out or they're dissolving. Part of their reason is, of course, they don't have much to do. Bath Township has many, many projects that they could be doing in order to have the improvement. The purpose of the tax increment, or being able to take a portion of their taxes, don't change. So no matter what we charge them for their taxes, they're always going to pay that. What the DDA does is take a portion of that, put it aside, which of course, Mr. Stevens mentioned that some of his DDAs wait years before they take on bigger projects. For us, it isn't so much, I would love to see bigger projects, but it's just one project after another. So that 288 or 280,000 plus probably will go rather quickly. But again, this is going to all depend on where our board's at, where our attorney who's going to be speaking, and most of all, where the board for the DDA is going to be at. It's a very dynamic group of people who really want the township to do well. And in order for the township to do well, the money has to be there in order to do it in this specific area. And that specific area had been chosen. It's not an area personally I would have chosen, but it's an area that has been chosen, and it was chosen in 2012 in order to do it. So basically what I'm looking at is hopefully the dissolving of the DDA is not something that you're looking to do. You're looking to support the township and support your DDA. And this is what happens in many of the communities I've touched base with. I don't know, Jason, when you've touched base with them, are they amenable to their DDAs?
I haven't touched base with
Okay.
these other communities. I do want to say that I misspoke with Ann Arbor. There was a discussion for dissolution of the DDA.
Okay, they're discussing it.
So, but I guess, I mean,
Okay.
part of what I'm hearing, if I were to sum up Mr. Stevens' point, main point
Yes.
is that we have not expended DDA funds. And without a clear plan for expending those funds, then we are heading down the route of critical non-compliance, right? And, you know,
I
Marie,
believe
you're
that.
asking us to take a leap of faith of accepting your slate of candidates.
I sure am.
And all I've heard is that, you know, you want to start by hiring a DDA director as well as an accountant. The
No,
question I have with that is, you know, if the income is, I mean, around 77,000 a year, once you pay for those individuals, what's left over to spend on the community? So
that's, no,
again, there's not a clear plan. You want to make a bunch of changes, and I'm uncomfortable with that, especially considering the, you know, our current state.
no, I understand. What I'm looking at is not to hire a director right away. And again, this will depend on our group. You know, this team is going to have to make decisions. Some of them are going to be very difficult decisions, but they're going to make those decisions after they have been able to figure out where they are. I know Mr. White is assuming that they're going to hit the ground running. That's not necessarily true because they're going to have to organize themselves. Right now, there is no chair. Right now, there's no vice chair. Right now, there's no secretary. This is all brand new. This is if they're starting from scratch. And they are pretty much starting from scratch, other than the two who are members and have been members, which will be an enormous assistance to the rest of them to help them kind of figure out, you know, where they're at and what they want to do. There's some fabulous ideas about things that they want to do in the DDA area. And that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to come up with these ideas, and then they're supposed to hash them over and figure out, come to the board and say, this is what we're looking to do. That's part of the DDA's requirement. I've been here like 20 plus years in this township. And out of that, our capital improvement maybe has 2 programs that we've done. And one of those programs was started long before I was here. The other program that was done had a grant that went with it. So my issue for the DDA is that that's their job, hopefully, to be able to do projects that are really tough for the township to make those decisions to do. I don't know. I don't know how that, my idea of what a township should be doing is at a whole different ballgame, I guess. But the DDA is one area, that's one tool in the toolbox to be able to use to make the township a better place, a more inviting place than what we have today. So yes, I am asking for the leap of faith with these 4, but the micromanaging of these committees, which that's not a negative as far as, you know, that goes. Micromanaging sometimes is a good thing to do. It helps you keep the finger in the pulse on what's happening and what's going on. So yes, I am. And the reason my leap of faith has to do is because they're all 6. Those are all new or 9 people to start this out. Now, it could come to the agreement that if they screw up and it doesn't work, you always can come back and dissolve it. That's not an issue. Never has been an issue. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. So yeah, it is a leap of faith, but there's a lot of things you have to take a leap of faith. You know, there are bigger fish to fry in this whole community of issues that we could be doing as a board of trustees. Am I making any sense? Yes. Oh, I see a hand up. Go ahead, treasurer.
Marie, I just want to make a point.
Sure.
I picked up on this. Jason's right. They probably did have a meeting in March. It seems to my memory that they did have a meeting in March, but even if they'd had a meeting in March, it would have had no consequence on the 2019
That's correct.
Public Act 57 because we didn't receive our audit back from our auditors until July because of the March 20th we was knee deep in COVID. We were closed. We didn't actually have our financial statements done. I don't believe Maynard was here until June, and we completed everything that we needed to have done. So we didn't have our final numbers anyhow. Even if they'd had a meeting in March, I commend them for having a meeting, but it wouldn't have made any difference in this compliance issue. You still had to have your audited numbers back before you're going to put them on paper. I'm not going to fill out a Public Act 57 form and put on take the numbers that are unaudited to put on there. They're going to be audited numbers just as they were for 19 when it finally was done, and it's been there on my desktop since. And then as well as 20, I'm waiting on the 20 numbers to make sure that we don't have some adjustment in there for that. I won't know that until I get that. As far as the township treasurer's role in this thing, and as far as being a pain, yeah, it's a little bit of extra stuff that you get saddled with because of the way our ordinance is. Township's treasurer's role will not, no matter who it is, will not change. You're still going to be responsible for figuring out the millage, figuring out the capture, settling with the county treasurer. Before and after you actually collect taxes, we actually do it twice on the DDA.
Mhm.
You're still going to be involved in the budget part of it, and you're still going to be involved in the fund balance part of it, because that's all part of tracking the general ledger. So it doesn't make any difference whether you're going to hire a treasurer, you're not going to hire a treasurer, whatever you're going to do. And the only thing it could possibly change is if you was to go out and get your own bank account and you was going to take and cut these people a check for $280,000 out of their bank account and transfer it over to them and say, okay, this is your money, you're going to move forward and you're going to do this. Somebody mentioned that tonight here. I think it was Aaron maybe. But that would be the only thing that could change.
No, what I'm saying is that if and when a treasurer is looked upon, which could be one of our members, it would also be working with you. That's part of the partnership. Now,
I don't think that there's any partnership.
I know you don't. I know.
With the township treasurer. My duties are by statute, but there could be an agreement that could be arrived at, and usually you have agreements in this stuff. You don't have partnerships, you have agreements. But partnership is not a word that we would use. We would have an agreement where you have two different local authorities who work together with an agreement with a set of structured statute contract words of how something would work, but it would not be a partnership. I want no partner. I do not want to be a partner for some other treasurer's actions that they're going to take on a different authority. I'm not interested in that as a township treasurer, nor am I as the township. I'm not going to put the township at that liability. That would be a liability to the township, and I'm not interested in that.
I'm not sure of the liability. That's something that, as Mr. Stevens stated, that's an opinion for an attorney. Now, whether our attorney says that or not, I don't know.
Actually, that's an opinion from your township treasurer, who's in charge of that right now. And has the liability of everything that's here. And that's I'm telling you from the years of classes I've attended in the MTA and the years of things I've went through the municipal league and other things, I'm telling you that you're I'm not going to be a partner with anybody in anything that is the treasurer of another organization. It would be a contract. It would not be a partner. I wouldn't have any liability in anybody else's way
I
of
think
doing business.
contract makes sense. I don't know of any of the DDAs that I've talked with that don't have contracts with their townships, so that it's very clear what's to be expected from both. That we have not had. I don't think.
There's a reason why the Department of Treasury letterhead comes with my name and it's addressed to me.
Sure.
It didn't come addressed to the township board. I'm shocked that, frankly, honestly, it didn't come, that you didn't get one addressed to you, because you are a chief executive officer. Is that what we would call it, of the DDA?
Is that what they call it?
But the thing of it is I'm the person that has to call over there and talk to these folks and say, this is what we got going on. This is where we're at with this. What do we do? And they tell you the same thing every time you talk to them. They says it's all compliant. It depends on what your plan is, your tax increment finance plan is. This is what you're allowed to do. And if you're step outside that plan, then that's between the township board and the DDA board, and they need to talk. That's how that works. In the past year, we haven't had anybody to talk with. Whose fault it is, I'm not going there. It's not my fault. I've did my pieces. I've turned in paperwork. I've did what needs to be done. The only thing I'm out of compliance with is I'm out of compliance with the 2019 paperwork, which will be turned in very shortly.
No, I also talked with the state, and you're right. Your name was there because you're the only one that they knew to send it to. That's why you got it. Otherwise, I don't know who would have gotten it. I have no clue, because the state only had you on record. So you are the name of record, whether or not because you're the treasurer or whether you talk to them about DDAs. I have no clue. This is all.
I talked to them about a lot of things. The Department of Treasury, the treasurer is pretty close. We talk on a daily basis or weekly, whatever.
I certainly get that. And that's why I talked to this Travis Boavicki, because when I received the copy of this, I wasn't at all sure what he was. I mean, I know what it says, but I needed more explanation from him as to what this was all about. So I'm only explaining, what he said. Because I asked him that exact same question. Why did it go to you? That was an explanation that it wasn't because you're the treasurer. It wasn't for any reason other than the fact that your name was there. Now, whether your name was there because you're the treasurer, I have no idea. But anyway, he was very amenable to me, very agreeable for time. So it was nice to talk with him to get an idea of what's going on. So any other questions? Gosh, you guys are really quiet except for Jason. And is there any other questions? Boy, Mr. Stevens, you must have done a great job. They don't have any questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything? All right. So that's for a discussion. So we're finished with that. So we go to B, which is the introduction of our first reading of our ordinance 74.1, which I'm reading from our agenda for a 3-year term of the Sewer Appeals Board member. I think we did that. So I think we're finished, or do we need more? Do you want to discuss the ordinance? Apparently there's no discussion with the ordinance. So I'm assuming because I had input that it's not being voted on. Is that up or down? So down is the response. Okay, that's.
Madam Supervisor?
Yes.
You said a lot there and I'm not.
Yes, I did.
Sure.
Okay, it was a mouthful.
As I understood, this was on introduction and discussion, not on action. So I think that's why you're seeing no action, not because you had any input into it.
Well, there's no question. Is there any questions regarding the sewer of appeal members and to ensure the terms are put in the ordinance?
I just want to clarify what I said there.
No, I
It's
know,
not
I
on for
understand.
action, and that's why you're not hearing anybody make a motion, not because there's no questions or because you had a hand in it.
All right, no, all right, so what I'm going to say then for this is that because there's no discussion, this needs to come back and then you'll have some other discussion.
Karen has her hand up, Marie.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing it. Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
I just realized in you and trustee Hewens Bliss speaking that I misplaced it under items of introduction and discussion. My intention was for it to be under action, so
That's
I'm
what I thought.
apologizing for that miscommunication.
Not, no.
Okay,
no.
it can come back next time. So I apologize for that.
No, there's no miscommunication. You know, that was something I figured you knew what you were doing with it. So that's why it was in the discussion, but if nobody wants to discuss it, we'll move on. So our items of action, okay? Is that okay?
I'll bring it back next time, yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll put no discussion. Just writing myself some notes. Okay. Now we have items for action. We have the 21 improvement agreement with Bath Township. Is there, this seems to be a rather lengthy piece.
If I may.
This is, yeah, I was
Madam
going to
Chair.
say Superintendent.
Yeah, thank you.
Shoot. Go ahead. This thing is
Thank
like,
you.
I could press
So-
roses in it.
So I included every contract that was forwarded
Okay.
to us from the road commission, and it includes a breakdown of each project cost. You saw all this material last time at your last meeting. This is also the same material that the road committee considered when they met on the issue. In addition, I included the 425 agreement from between us and DeWitt Township, and
That's what it was.
yes, and the road committee took a good look at this because the road commission asked us to look here because it says that we will provide such municipal services included but not limited to police protection, fire protection, enforcement of zoning, building code restrictions, building inspections, and sanitary sewer service. Although roads wasn't specifically mentioned in there, I believe they thought it was the intention that it was our road and that we should pave it. So that was the recommendation from the road committee and that, or excuse me, the road commission to our road committee. We do have the funds to cover that. If we include that in our calculations, we still have money left over after we pay for all these projects. And the intent of the recommendation of the road committee was to revisit these projects later in the summer to see what had been accomplished and if anything else could be accomplished during the construction season.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, trustee Benzie, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreements with the county to fix our roads this year.
Second.
Well, discussion, I have a discussion because I have a question. What you're saying is that this improvement is for our roads, that the county's going to, this is what it's going to cost us for county repairs or improvements.
So, excuse me, so the Clinton County Road Commission will put $79.26 towards our projects. They're also conducting some other paving in the township or chip sealing, I believe. The township's contracted amount that we allocated in our budget was $397,700. It's a lot of sevens in there.
Yeah,
So together with all these projects and those two amounts, we will have some money left over at the end of the paving season.
okay, the end of the paving season then, so our 84,379 that Clinton County puts in,
Mhm.
then we put the remainder of.
Yeah,
because they're
if
total
we
projects.
if we
Okay.
choose to approve, if we choose to pave something else, it will be at our cost. That is correct.
Oh, so our budget of 397,700 doesn't include any of the paving that we're talking about. This is only the 84. Is that, do I
No,
understand that?
the total of the 482,000 of those two amounts added together,
Okay, so what would we have left over?
like maybe, I think like
Just a
20,000
ballpark.
or yeah,
How
less
much?
than 20,000.
Okay. So we'd have 20,000 left over after the 482,000.
I see
Yeah.
Steve doing math just a moment. He's
Supposed to
gonna
do that in his
help
head.
us
You want my calculator? I have my calculator. It's,
Yeah, 12,764,000.
that we'd have left
Yeah.
over.
$12,764 left over. You know, contracts, you talk about 20 years, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Exactly.
These
Okay.
contracts, it's
That's-
like, if they're an estimate, I mean, something could happen along the way and we could have something else that could come up and we might have to do something. You could have a road cut for a sewer or anything could happen. So, I mean,
Sure.
I mean, they're just a rough estimate and I commend them guys for what they did here. The road
Oh, they
committee.
do an amazing job.
I think so. And,
Yeah, they do.
And I think that they've looked at everything that needs to be looked at. You know, I brought it up about the 425 thing. That's the reason why I should put it in there. I felt kind of bad about it afterwards. I probably shouldn't have said anything, but I deal with that stuff, you know, I think that, yeah, we are responsible for the utilities over there. It's kind of a common sense thing over there. I think it is. So, yes.
No, that was my next question, the 422 that we're doing. They're telling us that we need to pave that, correct?
The 425, you mean?
The 425, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and that's part of that 397,000.
It's no different than Watson Road or
Okay,
Webster Road or Slate Road or anything else that you can do. I mean, it's a township road that you're collecting taxes on. It just happens that we have a contract with DeWitt
Gotcha.
Township and they get 50% of the operating that we collect on that property over there. But that's for 50 years with a 50-year renewable. 50 years, somebody smarter than us will be able to sit here and decide
Let's
whether they
hope
want
so.
to continue with this.
so your 425 then is only for the roads? Because I remembered seeing that and I didn't quite,
I put it in here to explain why we were responsible for Hunsaker.
right. No, it's only for the roads, not for any agreement with 425. Because I keep hearing everybody talk about how bad the 425 is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all right. I didn't vote for
Okay.
either one of them.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, so that's just me trying to catch up, with it. So the 425 deals with more than just roads.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
but for our purposes tonight, just roads.
okay, got it. But the agreement that we have, if we agree to this, it'll be agreed to both 425 and the roads. Not separate.
No,
No.
Okay,
No.
okay.
it's
Go ahead,
purely
Trustee Bliss.
informational.
Thank you.
Alan has his hand up.
Well, so does Trustee Bliss. So Feedwin Bliss, I think had his first because that was the one I saw. Hang in there, Alan.
Karen, how did Hunsaker's status come to us? Was that through our normal coding of the roads and determining what needs to be done?
Yes, that's correct. We receive a full accounting of our roads every year and the shape that they're in on a scale
Correct.
rating system.
Yep.
And we try to maintain roads that are good. We try to improve roads that are bad, and we try to keep the good ones great. So it's a little bit across the board of trying to just maintain the entire system.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Rosencrantz, did you have your hand up?
Yes.
Okay, because you're on this road committee, right?
Huh?
You're on the road committee.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
We have money left over, like Steve said, every year, so that if we have something come up, we've got it covered without having to come back and talk to the board. We do that anyway, but it always, at the end of the year, usually after the audit is done, if there's some money left over, we try to find the worst road in the township and improve it. I want you to know that Park Lake Road, they're going to chip seal, but they're only going to chip seal from State Road to the township line. They were going to go all the way from Webster
Okay.
Road, but they run short on money, and so they will do it just from State Road to the township line.
okay, thanks. I appreciate that. All right, so that's an item for action. So do we need a vote on that? Does everybody understand, or do you want me to repeat it? This is the improvement agreement with the township, with Clinton County, or with the road commission, I should say Clinton County Road Commission. Do I have a second?
Yes, I seconded it.
All right. You're gonna need a vote?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes. Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
Mr. Wisswasser,
Yes.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
yes,
Thank you.
Okay, we have our first quarter of our 2021 budget amendments. Superintendent Hildebrandt, you're on
Thank-
again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did add one new item, and it is on the second page of the memo.
Let's see.
I marked it new. It is for the inclusion of 5 office doors and 1 external door for the township offices, and then 1 external door for the police department. And that added a cost of $5,200 to the bottom line that I had given you before. I wanted to bring that to your attention so that you understood that was a new item added since the last time you saw this list. Nobody contacted me with questions or concerns, but if anybody has any now, I'd be happy to answer them.
Go ahead, Trustee Bliss. We're gonna attack her, so go ahead.
Yeah.
We had, you and I had a conversation about perhaps coding the cemetery technology software to the cemetery fund. Did you decide against that, or is that where that's in here? I don't know the numbers well enough to know if that's where that's going.
It would be a transfer. We transfer $10,000 out of the cemetery fund each year to cover costs incurred by the general fund. That money would obviously, it goes towards a lot, but it would go towards the purchase of that software is all kept in one line item so that we can track year-to-year IT equipment and IT, I call them memberships. They're not really memberships, but software that needs to be renewed. So in a way it is, but it's not coded directly to that line.
Could we transfer an additional $5,000 this year to cover this one-time expense?
If that's the board's pleasure, yes, we could.
I just know that there's money
from the cemetery
sitting
fund.
over there and that this directly ties to the cemetery. So it makes
Mhm.
sense to me. Thanks.
Yes, we can.
Anybody have any questions with that? Trustee Almarigi, go ahead.
A question on a different item.
Okay.
So the the electronic sign, I'm
That's
one, I have a
okay.
question about it only because I've looked at the ordinance recently in
Right.
preparation for a ZBA meeting.
Mhm.
The question I have is that the ordinance around electronic signs is that the sign is not to
Just
be
one.
operational a half hour, beyond a half hour prior to the business hours and a half hour after
After.
business hours. So does that mean that the sign will be turned off during times when most citizens might be driving by before and after work? So I wonder to what extent about its effectiveness.
Yeah, that's possible because our operating hours of the township offices are 7:30, well, it would be 8 o'clock, so 7:30, and then 5 o'clock. So 5:30 if it's a half an hour. The police department's open 24 hours a day, although it's locked. So yes, it's possible that it could be off during peak driving times.
Well, it sounds like with the police open, perhaps there's some interpretation that can be made.
I have one question, but go ahead.
Sure.
Trustee Benz, well, Trustee Benzie's got his hand up, so.
Okay, sorry.
Nope, have at it.
Actually, with public safety, we're open 24 hours a day.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Because I've got a quick question. Superintendent, mine has to do with your buildings and ground. It would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be your 6th item.
Okay.
So it's 101-265-977.000.
Okay.
When it talks about the microwave, it's coming out of buildings and ground. Why wouldn't
Yes.
that come out of the police department?
Because
Doesn't-
in general, equipment purchased for the township comes out of
Okay.
building and grounds. Although a lot of times other departments can use it.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
So anybody has access to it, even though it's with the police department?
Yeah, I mean, you could
Okay.
go to the door and ask to heat up your lunch. They'd probably let you in.
No, that's what if it's for the
Oh.
township.
Okay.
And not just
Okay.
for the police department.
Okay, so as Steve said, it's classified as an asset. So
Okay.
that's why it's in that line.
So as an asset, so with building and grounds, anything that's under that number, your 977, that's an asset.
Well, that's the expense. But
Yeah.
you asked the question why.
Right.
That's the expense, or where it's expensed from, but you asked the question why it's not expensed out of the police department.
Right, because it's an asset.
It's no different than a police car, a gun, anything else that the police have over there. That's all an asset. The township owns that. The police department doesn't own it. The township does, and that's why
Okay.
the equipment is it doesn't matter whether it's a microwave, a shovel, or a lawnmower, or
No.
a police car, or whatever it is. It's an asset of the township. The taxpayers own it, not the police department.
Okay, so that's how you determine, that helps a lot. Thank you. I'm,
Thank you.
yep, I appreciate that. Okay, so I guess we need a vote on the first quarter 2021 budget amendments. Does anybody want a second?
I don't think there's a motion, but I'm happy to make the motion.
Thank you. So I need a motion and a second. So Ryan made the motion. Who's going to second?
I'll second.
Good.
Okay, Ben, thank you. Okay, did our clerk get that?
Yes.
Okay, I knew you would, but I wanted to make sure. All right, so we need a vote.
Okay. Myself, yes. Ms. Howe,
Yes,
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes,
Mr. Wisswasser,
Yes.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
Yes,
Mr. Fuens Bliss,
Yes.
okay, it appears that that passed unanimously, so we are good to go. There you go, Mr. Superintendent. You've got your first quarter amendments.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have a disposition. We're on C as in Charles, disposition of the remaining 2020 funds for
Yes.
for SCUMA.
This would, your vote tonight would decide whether or not $110,267 that's remaining in fund balance that are in our account at the sewer authority would come back to us, which is traditionally what's been done in the past. And that allows us, Treasurer Wisswasser specifically, to invest it and earn interest on it and keep it for other projects should we need that. If there are any questions?
Trustee Feedwin Bliss, go ahead.
I would move that we request that refund back to us and place it into the appropriate fund.
Second.
All right, I was going to ask for discussion because I had a question with it, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. With the 110,000 that's coming back, is that earmarked then for, you said for other projects, so it means that we could use it for anything, correct?
No,
Okay,
No,
sewer projects.
that's, okay, that's what I meant. It's earmarked for sewer projects.
Sewer fund money.
Okay, nope, that's,
That's the only thing it could be used for.
because I was hearing other projects and that I wasn't sure of. Thank you. All right. It's been second, discussion's over, so we need a vote.
Ms. Howe,
As long as it's going to be invested with sewer projects, yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes,
Mr. Wisswasser,
Yeah.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
yes,
Mr. Fewens Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes.
Okay, we have new business, item 13. So, yeah, we're still,
We missed one.
we're doing good.
We missed
Oh, I'm sorry. I did, and I penciled it in too. We're on D for the DDA area, I guess. I'm not sure. Trustee Amarigi, you put it in. So what is it you'd like to do?
So I wanted to have a conversation about where are we going with the DDA and what should we do with the DDA? We've heard from an accountant, we've heard from our treasurer. We've not been expending the funds. We're out of compliance.
We're not in compliance.
You've put before us a slate of candidates that lists you as a resident within the DDA district. Another one who is not even a member of the Bath Township, doesn't live in Bath Township. You've asked us to take a leap of faith in what you're going to do with the DDA, but as you've described, you are going to micromanage it. I don't know about you, but anytime I've ever worked in a place that has been micromanaged, has been both unpleasant and ineffective.
Man.
And you've not outlined a clear plan for where you want to take the DDA.
Okay.
And so I worry that if we continue moving forward in the direction that we're moving, we are going to be forced to dissolve the DDA. And so I just wanted an opportunity for us to have a very clear and concise conversation about this and maybe act on what we should do.
What would you like to do? I know what I want to do. What do you want to do?
Well, I feel like
Okay.
things are pointing in a one particular direction with this. I don't think any of us would disagree that the DDA would be a useful instrument and can make improvements in our community. I think we, as stewards of the DDA, I have a responsibility to ensure that those funds that normally would be going to the police and fire committees or departments, those funds that would go to LCC to support college students, those funds that would go to the township are being used effectively. We've not historically been using them effectively. People have, it's a blame game. People are blaming each other. People are blaming the prior supervisor. People have blamed me. People are blaming you. And the fact is,
Yep.
you've had 6 months to act on
Yep.
making appointments to the DDA, and you haven't. Will White has been calling for your head the whole time.
Yep.
And again, I go back to, you've not articulated a clear plan. The parts that you've articulated have not, to me, seem that we're adding layers of bureaucracy that are going to take away from the ability of these funds to make improvements in our community, real meaningful improvements. I'm not talking Christmas lights. I'm not talking whatever other things that have been done.
Okay,
So,
you're, all right, I understand to a degree
So-
what you're saying. Now, what I'm saying is that the DDA, now you've challenged, obviously who this team is, and you're saying one of them is not in the township, she doesn't live in, and that's true, absolutely true, but she's an amazing businesswoman, which is what our DDA needs. So when I look at, and when I have looked at, are individuals that, for me, and I think for the township, definitely have a plus, that they can add pieces, whether it be Bob Howe, Chris Hagerman, Josh Green, doesn't make any difference, whether it's Jeremy Tolliver. These are all new people to you, which is what it's supposed to be. These are supposed to be new people with new ideas, with things for Bath Township that hopefully will produce. I say hopefully because frankly, I trust them, but I'm not going to make you a promise because that's something that I simply won't do. I think I know what they'll do, but I'm not about to verbally say to you, I promise this is what's going to happen, because this group has to come together. When you say a clear plan, I can't have a plan because I'm not in charge of the minds of these other 8 people. All I can do is sit there and discuss the same thing we do here. This is exactly the same thing. I don't know that you have Ryan's mind, or you have Al's mind, or you have Joe's mind. You have your mind. So you can't dictate, or you should not be able to dictate to them what it should be any more than I can dictate to them. What I can do, if there's supposed to be some form that you're looking at for a project, I think this group has to come together to give you a project. You've been there, you've been dysfunctional with it. You know how that works, how it did work. That's not how it's going to work. So that's all that I can tell you, is that it will be different. Go ahead, Trustee Bliss, go ahead.
I was surprised to see that Will White wasn't on your list. I know
That's
he's
correct.
an applicant and I know he's been involved for a long time. Can you talk about why you didn't include him?
I didn't include Will White because it's kind of like a guilt by association. I've watched him and I've listened to him, as you have, repeatedly over the years. And I'm not seeing anything new and innovative. When you talk about the projects, you should be asking Will White, what project do you want to do? If you think Will has the capabilities of doing that, then I think you should hire him, appoint him. I think that, and hiring him as a director, that's something you guys have to determine. All I'm saying is that this group is something that I think is going to be a new vision of what's going on. Yes, apparently that didn't answer your question.
No, it absolutely did. I just want to
Okay.
clarify though, we don't have the ability to hire the director of the DDA and we don't have the ability to appoint Will unless you put him up. So I just want
Actually,
to clarify that.
Actually, you do. What happens with a DDA is that it must come to you to look at it and say, yes, that's okay. But that's part of that understanding of what authority you have and what authority the DDA has through the attorney who will talk to all of us about what we can and can't do.
Well, we
So
have
there's
an
no
attorney
misconception.
opinion saying that we don't have the ability to put forward members.
No, you didn't say that. You said you couldn't hire the director.
I said
And
we
I'm
can't
saying,
hire the
and
director, the board does
actually you-
that, and that
actually
we
you do.
cannot, okay, just let me finish, okay?
Okay,
We cannot appoint someone that you don't bring forward.
you can't, that's true with the
Right.
DDA.
So that's what
Yes.
I'm trying to clarify. So I just want
Yes.
any of the public who are watching this to understand it's not up to us in that way. I have a second.
Well, it is up
question
to
for
you because it is up to you because you
It's
accept or reject. It is up to
Right, but
you.
we can't bring them to the floor unless you do.
But you just
So we
asked
can
me.
accept or reject
Correct.
your
That's
people.
correct.
Thank
That
you.
is correct.
My
So,
second question.
okay,
We are bound by the tax increment financing plan that we're currently operating under. So we've talked in these discussions a lot about projects and ideas for projects. The tax increment financing plan is pretty clear about the projects that were approved. So do you have thoughts about the projects that are currently in the plan?
are you talking about the projects that Tiff is saying that you can or can't do? I'm not sure what projects you're talking about.
There's a list of projects in the approved tax increment
Yeah.
financing and DDA ordinance plan that was proposed to us in 2012.
Yes.
As I read the document, we can't do projects that are not listed in that document. So I'm wondering your thoughts as we think about, people
Okay.
coming up with brand new projects. Ultimately, it has to be within the scope of this, or this
absolutely
has to
correct.
be changed. So
No.
I'm curious if you have particular projects that are already approved in the plan that we should be moving toward.
I don't. This new group will have plan. Why? I guess I'm not understanding why you're focusing on me when you have these other individuals who are part of the board. Are you
Because you're the
saying,
supervisor.
okay, so you're saying that I'm going to tell them this is what they're going to do?
I didn't say anything like that. I'm
I know you
asking
didn't.
if
Well,
you
that's
have
what
opinions.
That's what I'm asking.
If you have opinions on the projects that are already in the plan.
Do I have opinions on them that are already in the plan? Meaning in 2012's plan?
The only plan
in
we
the
have, which
new-
is 2012. So
That is the only plan. And did I have opinions on them? You've heard me say this before, the 2012 report that was done, I'm not sure really had much to do with a downtown development economic authority. I think that plan was focused on an individual plan.
I think
And
most
I'm
plans are
sorry, you
focused on an
were
individual
there,
plan.
yes.
I guess I'm clarifying, is it your intent then that you think the DDA should come forward with us with a whole new plan?
I'm saying your DDA needs to meet with the attorney to understand what it is their role is, as it's been discussed. And I think it needs to meet with the Board of Trustees. So I'm hoping that the three will come together, do the discussing that needs to be done as to what you can and can't do. As for my opinion, that's all it is an opinion. You're hiring or accepting, which is what you do for your committees. You accept them as individuals with ideas. The hope is that they will come to those committees or the authority, which is what this is, and be able to articulate, and that they don't accept simply because one of you accept. That's something that shouldn't be done. That's why we hire, or that's why we appoint committee members, is so that their individual thoughts are going to be there.
I
So
guess
that-
I'm not being clear. I'm sorry. The
No.
board has approved a tax increment financing plan and DDA plan. In order for the DDA to do projects that are not in this approved plan, the
Wait a
board
minute.
has to approve a whole new plan or an amendment to the plan. So what I'm really trying to get is it your hope that they're going to come up with a new plan, or should we be looking at the projects that are in the current approved plan, which again is the only thing they're supposed to be able to spend money on?
Number one, your ordinance needs to be completely redone because it's referencing a law that doesn't exist anymore. Okay. Does that mean that the projects that they have in there are also not acceptable? That's an interpretation. And that is an interpretation of what they should do or shouldn't do. So when you say you have a plan, your plan is the 2012, which is outdated, because we have a new TIF plan. in
We don't have a
2018.
new TIF plan.
Yes, and that
This
has
is
never
the
been,
TIF plan.
and that never has been acknowledged. It's always, our ordinance represents how do I say this? Our ordinance refers constantly to the act, and the act is the 197 of 75.
I'm sorry,
That
I just
doesn't
don't think that
exist
that's
anymore.
correct. We have an approved plan. The plan says we can't do anything out of that. The plan goes through 2033.
What plan goes to 2033?
The tax
Oh,
increment.
Oh, the tax.
plan.
The tax increment financing program goes to 2033, Marie.
Okay, is that what he's talking? You're
That-
talking about the new law.
No, I'm talking
no.
about the tax increment financing plan that
Which-
the board passed in 2012.
No.
I
Okay.
get to tell you what I'm
Okay.
talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Then say that, because as far as I
I'm
know,
sorry, I thought I said it a couple.
no, you
times.
didn't.
I'm pretty sure I did.
My comprehension, I know you challenge it quite often, but it's okay. What I look at, when we're looking at the TIF plan, which means you take X amount of dollars out, and you're saying that what you're trying to say is that there are certain projects we can't do, the DDA can't do. And do I have comments on that? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
saying the opposite. There's a list of
Okay.
programs in the
Right.
plan that has been approved for TIF money to be spent on. I'm
And you-
wondering if you are in support of these plans or if your intent is to rewrite the plan.
I can't rewrite the plan. I can't rewrite law.
It's not a law, Marie. It's something that this board passed in 2012.
All right, let me try it again. Okay,
It's the basis of actually what you collect your capture taxes for.
I know.
It's the basis of what your tax collection process for the DDA is based off of.
Is the
And,
TIF.
and is the TIF and the way it is designed and what the money can be used for and what is captured for.
Correct.
It's part of the positive capture and also part of the negative capture. It depends on what goes on. Our TIF plan actually takes and states right in it, in this highly commercial corridor for Webster Road, it states in it that it doesn't capture any MBT tax, which is Michigan business tax. It only collects ad valorem taxes. In other words, it collects taxes from homes and businesses that are basically regular operating type businesses. It doesn't collect their personal property tax or the Michigan business tax. It does not involve that at all. These people that have these taxes that's living within the DDA district, they get taxed for that and they pay that, but that money doesn't go toward the capture.
All right. It doesn't go towards the capture.
No.
So help me
I
out.
have a
with that.
question too for you, Marie.
Go ahead. Shoot.
You actually referred to it several times tonight. You talk about the attorney. Everybody's gonna sit down with attorney, and you even actually went as far as at one point in time tonight. You talked about the fact that the possibility that the authority, if they were gonna redo the authority, you would have a treasurer, you would have a director, and they may even hire their own attorney. Is this person
No.
that you want to sit down with, that you've talked with, is that our township attorney you've talked with about this?
I have talked to him about it, and no, I am not. See, this is where you're getting really confused. There is no hiring of an attorney. There is no hiring unless they decide in our group that that's necessary, of a treasurer. There is no hiring of a secretary unless our group decides that no one has the capabilities of doing the secretarial work. So understand that your DDA at this point is pretty much starting from scratch. As for your question, Ryan, with the TIF, we can only operate within what you have. So if that goes to for the next 33 years, we have to operate within that point. Do I have any ideas of that? I'd have to go back, as they would have to go back and look at it and review. And yes, the attorney has said anytime, your township attorney today said, if in fact that's something that we want for him to come and talk, he would certainly be more than happy to do that. So there is no hiring of any own attorney. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Or is there a hiring of a treasurer? My discussion with you was, whatever we can do, we will take it off your back and take care of it. That I am sure. That I can make a promise. I don't think that would be too out of line with this group to be able to say if that would make you more comfortable. I have no problem with that, and I don't think they would either. So I don't know if that answered your question or not, Trustee Feedwin Bliss, but whatever it is that the TIF is offering that we have to work within the parameters, that's what we'll work within, is those parameters. As for my ideas of whether I accept or reject, I would have to go back to them and say, do you accept or do you reject? It's really up to this board, as it is with your committee members, which they're supposed to do the same kind of thing.
I heard you say you were
Okay.
going to micromanage this group, and so I thought that.
No,
was-
you didn't hear me
Go
say
ahead.
that. No, I said micromanaging at some times is probably a good thing to do. You guys have been micromanaging my committees, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. You keep right on doing it because that's your job. The only thing that bothers me with that, if there is something that bothers me, is the fact that the township has so many other issues that need to be addressed.
Yes, I've heard other people say that in these
Yes,
meetings.
and you've been the big, and that's,
So you did say micromanaging, you agreed with me, you said it. So that's what I heard
No,
you say.
no,
So
no,
I thought that I understood that to mean like you had some thoughts in the plan, you were gonna drive this home, but it seems like that's not the case. And that's what
No,
I
I've
was
never
just
said
trying to
that.
dig for. I know you didn't say it, that's why I'm
No.
asking.
okay.
That's what I'm trying to dig for. If
Well-
you've got a plan or if you agree with this plan, but it sounds like you're unfamiliar with the plan that's currently in action.
Whether familiar or not with it, if that's the parameter that we have to work within for the DDA, and I say we because I'm mandated to be there. That's why this committee of all new people, other than the two that have always been there or are willing to accept another round, which bless their hearts they are, this new group will have to work within whatever parameters, and that's part of what the discussion is between the Board of Trustees, the attorney, and this group. So you want to dissolve it, that's something that you guys are going to have to decide. I am very pro DDA because I know what it can do. I've seen it. And I know how effective they can be in an area. And Bath Township is it's like a paint palette that you don't even have a picture yet. They have so many wonderful things that can be done, but that's entirely up to you. You're the legislative body. You're the ones that are going to make the decision. So all I can do is plead my case, which I think I've done. Now, Trustee Amarigi, did you have your hand up?
No, but
Okay.
I'm still unclear what your case is, other
Okay.
than you're asking for a leap of faith.
All right. What don't you understand that the case is?
You haven't presented a case other than you've got a dream team of people that
That's
you're
correct.
confident are going to make a difference, but you've not argued or articulated exactly how or why. And then when
Okay.
we ask you specific elements about the DDA, you redirect that back to us
I do.
and ask us what we think, while the
Yes.
whole time not providing any detail about what your plan is, what your hopes and desires, other than you have hopes and desires and you want us to believe in you.
Well,
That's not how
I've
business is
expressed,
run.
no, that's my hope and desire. My hope and desire. All right, let me put it to you this way. My hope and desire, depending on what this board wants to do, and that really is their decision. My hope and desires would be to see Main Street activated. There have been others who've said the same thing. They want their areas cleaned up. They want to be able to be proud of Main Street, Cherry Street, and et cetera, to be able to say that. They want to be, I would love to see that happen. I think all of you would love to see that happen. The purpose of a DDA is to take an area that's depressed and make it into an economically viable community, part of Bath Township. Instead of saying, that's the dirty old street that we've got, and there are residents who do and have said that, the hope is, my hope is that that will change. I have always, Ryan and I talked about this, but he kind of put me straight on it. I've always wanted to put the library on Main Street, along with our museum, so that people would be able to have that. One as an anchor, but obviously we're going to have a new anchor because Ryan had stated they put a 15-year contract out for their renewal for leasing. So that's long, and I knew it would be a long way down the road. That's my hope and desire, is to be able to have some anchor on Main Street so that we would be able to look at that and be able to say and be proud of Bath Township. Our communities are not connected. Our communities are isolated. I would love to see our communities connected. Again, that's my hope. Is that what you're answering? Is what I think would be a viable,
So
but it all
I just out of curiosity, I mean, where does Webster Road fit into your hopes and desires? I mean, you talk a lot
That's
about.
a very good question. That's a very good question. You've been discussing Webster Road for a long time. Are you talking about Webster Road from Clark Road down, or are you talking about the entrance?
The portion of Webster Road that's within the Downtown Development Authority.
That's the whole Webster Road.
Not all of it.
Are you talking about the entrance? Or are you talking
That's
about
part of Webster Road that is
Drum
within
Hill
the
or-
DDA, which is from the highway to,
Okay.
what is it, Slate Road? I don't think the DDA extends north of Slate Road or south of the highway.
Okay, so you're asking me a really, really interesting question, which would have a 3-tier, which would have a longer conversation than what you guys want to spend tonight. You're talking 3 different areas. You're talking the entrance, you're talking from Drumheller to Clark, you're talking from Clark to Slate. Those are 3 different areas. That's not a one strip piece. From
Correct, which is why I
my
limited
perspective,
it to the portion that was within the DDA.
that isn't the portion of
So
DDA.
I had asked you a direct question related to what are your thoughts? I'm not
Okay,
hearing
all right.
anything about Webster Road.
You just said Webster Road.
Okay.
Let me try this. Let me try this. You're talking Webster Road. What are my thoughts with Webster Road? I'm telling you that it appears to be in 3 different phases. I do not agree with DDA money being spent on the entrance. But that's me personally. The reason for that is because it's not well spent money for developing. That's going to develop. Okay. 2, from Drumheller up to Clark Road. Okay. That's an interesting question because that's been discussed for a long time about the road being a centerpiece so that you have traffic going both ways and then you have a median or you have bike lanes for it. Okay. That's been discussed. That's something that, is the DDA going to be responsible for that? That's the partnership, and I'm sorry that term is used, but that discussion would take place with the DDA board and your planning commission, for example, to be able to determine how that's going to play out. Now, if you want to go from Clark Road up to Slate Road, that's another interesting piece because Farmers Market is there. Do you widen that? Would the school let you widen it? I don't know. Would the residents want it widened? I don't know. Would the farmers market want to have a better place to park their cars and be able to service the farmers market? Probably. But again, that's a partnership between the DDA and the farmers market. What can be worked out? Then it comes to you as the board to determine, yes, that's a good project. No, that's not going to work. Does that help any or not?
It does, thank you.
Okay. Here, I thought you'd have another one to say. You kind of throw me off there. I'm waiting for you to.
Maria, I have my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yes,
that's
Treasurer.
fine. That's fine.
Nope, just wave it. Do something.
This isn't a pain. You
Yeah.
talked about being a pain in my neck. It's not a pain in my neck. It's just.
No, it's the other place. I get it.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's not, it hasn't been structural. It hasn't been, and you hit the nail on the head when you talked about that.
It's true.
It hasn't been, it should be about there's one thing that's right about this, and that's the district. The district is itself is the district. It's the downtown development, the downtown area. What we know is the downtown area. It may be a little wide in a few places, but it covers some of the most important business pieces there is in the township.
That's correct.
I'm going to throw this out there, and if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. I have a vision here of fixing this to get this so we can get people moving, and so the township can become part of this. I'm going to make a motion. I don't know if I can do that now, but I think I can. I'm going to make a motion to dissolve the DDA with the funds returning to the township that comes to the township. Obviously, the funds that go to LCC goes to them, but I'll make a motion to dissolve the DDA with the funds returning to the township to be restricted in our audits from here on out to DDA district improvements, and to make that also a capital projects, a CPI item with our planning commission, and we look at every year to add to this balance to continue to do projects. The township board do the projects for each year forward. That's my motion. That way this money can be spent. There's those of you who'd like to have the money spent on the Webster Road corridor. I heard Marie talk about Main Street. I heard her talk about Cherry Street. You know, we could go on and on and on. You drive around, you see these blue signs, and they're everywhere. But this gets us off center. It gets us doing things in this district. There's high time the township. You have a little nest egg that you have built up here. My guesstimation is you're going to be right close to $200,000 after you pay LCC off. You have money left over that you can actually do something with, and the township board, who is responsible for the tax funds and everything, it puts the ball in their court. You put it into the planning commission, let them work on this with the CIP items, the same as what they do with everything else. Every year you set down that when you have a fund balance, you say, okay, we're gonna put 25% or 10% or whatever into the downtown development district fund for improvements, and it takes all the politics out of it. Maybe not all. Some people may think some people may not think it does, but what it does is it makes it more manageable and it gives it structure. But that's my motion. If somebody wants to take and second it, I welcome it. But if they don't want to second it, I understand. But you know, the bottom line is you're not going to fix it with everything you talked about here tonight. I'm sorry, but the people who you want to appoint to this board are probably very qualified people. They're probably capable of doing what they need to be done. But frankly, honestly, it's this township board's responsibility to do the right things with money and tax dollars and everything else. And that's what these are. They're tax dollars you're fighting about. They're not anything else. That's all they are. They're tax dollars. And it's our responsibility to take and do that. We could start something here tonight, and we could take and make it even better. We could take and be held to this just the same as what the DDA is held to. And we have to make options. We have to come up with stuff. But that's my motion. If you want me to write it out a little bit better for you, I think Mrs. Hildebrandt has got this all written out. I've been watching her write it across the table as I've been speaking. But if somebody wants to second that, that's fine. If you don't want to second it, then move on with whatever you want to move on with.
I'd like to add to it if I could.
Well, that would be an amendment to my motion, so I'd have to hear it before I could agree to that.
I know. The amendment that I would like to make, and this of course all depends on what it is you want to do, if this is what you want to do, because I don't support dissolving a DDA, but an amendment to that motion would be very helpful if you came up with a percentage of what you would guarantee over the next infinite years that the township would put into projects.
Ju-
Because while
ju-
you're.
Just, go ahead, go
Okay,
ahead.
no, it sounds like what you're saying is that this dollar amount is what you'll use for projects, period. And I'm saying if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to dissolve it and you're going to earmark the dollars for projects within, you don't have a DDA area anymore. That won't exist because if you dissolve it, that doesn't exist anymore. So the projects would have to go to a specific area. And I don't mind the specific areas so much as I would like to see a percentage of dollars earmarked each year to be spent on projects, whether it's 100,000, 150,000, 69,000, whatever the earmark would have been, that annually you would do this. Oh, go ahead, trustee Amarigi, you got your hand up. Good man, put it in front of me.
I would like to support Treasurer Wisswasser's original motion and also address your request, Marie. I think what he indicated in terms of looping this into the capital improvement plan process does exactly what you're asking for in terms of it becomes an annual expectation. I think we're going to need to look at the capital improvement plan process in general, and the Planning Commission has been looking at that for a number of years. I think this adds a very nice element to that. And the benefit here is that if there are earmarked funds for the downtown development area, and this is embedded within a township-wide plan, there's greater opportunity for discussions about economies of scale where you can accomplish the goals of the DDA while also accomplishing the goals of other areas of the township. So what I hear in Wisswasser's motion is a solution to a problem we've been struggling with for years. And on that basis, I support it.
That's fine. I've given you, so we have two solutions. Mine you're rejecting, and that's okay. You guys do what you want to do with it. I am a great supporter of DDAs. I understand exactly what Steve's saying, and I support it up to a point. I've watched for 20 some years these projects that don't exist. They come and we don't have the money. So I guess I'm saying if there's a guarantee that we're going to have money, then, maybe.
You have a guarantee, Marie. The guarantee is already the fund balance that you'll have. It'll be in the back after you return the funds and you restrict them in your audit. You've read enough financial statements that you know that we can restrict funds to only be spent. And we've already identified, because the work has already been done, we've identified the district. We know what the district is as of today. We know what it is, whether it's a DDA district or whatever you want to call it. It's the same district. It's the same parameters, and that's what my motion is. So you have a nest egg to start with, and you can move forward dependent upon what the finances are of the township as the Planning Commission recommends to a capital improvement plan, and the board follows through. You don't want to restrict the board. Maybe you do, I don't know, but you wouldn't want to restrict the board to making sure that they have to pay $25,000 a year or $100,000 a year or whatever if they don't have that money. So this way here, you're not restricting them to anything, but you're looking at it on a capital improvement basis is what capital improvement plans are for. They're done for fiscal planning and they're done for fiscal ship of the township.
Two projects in 22 years. I don't think so. I need a guarantee. And yes, we do have it. That's why we have, how much is in our fund balance?
You look at capital projects funds in the budget. There's been a capital projects money in the budget every year, but I've been here, Marie, and it's still there, and it's there. Whether or not you act on it as a board or not, now that's up to the board. but that's still there. You already have money that'll be automatically, that's the beauty of this motion. You'll have money that's automatically restricted to be used within that district. You can't spend it anywhere else. So you've already got to start. And if Jason's what I think Jason's saying, because I know him well enough that I know he's been very vocal about this, that the planning commission wants a role in this stuff, and they want to know, they want to be able to take and take care of our community and do things for our community. We want to be able to take and do things for Will White and whatnot, and residents and businesses and all people that live within that district. And we want to make our place a little bit nicer to work with. But this takes the dreaded meetings out of it, and it goes, you already have the money. You have the money saved, it's there. And the only piece you're going to have to give back is you're going to have to refund the piece to Lansing Community College. But it's going to be a small fraction of the money compared to what the township's portion of it is.
I understand the nest egg. I get that. What I'm not getting and what I'm not hearing is, what are you going to add to that nest egg?
That's going to be dependent upon, it is on every capital improvement project. You don't know, you don't know today what you're going to do. You don't know that the roads, or how much money you're going to put in the roads next year. You don't know how much money you're going to put in new police cars. You don't know how much money you're going to put in the supervisor's budget. You don't know how much money you're going to do in DPW, whether you're going to buy a new lawnmower, or you're not going to buy a new lawnmower. That's part of fiscal budgeting and responsibility. I was asked when the new board got elected here this last time here, for the folks that come on, and I'll say, even who it was, I'll go out of the line here. Ryan asked me, he says, Steve, who do you want to have for a budget and finance committee? I says, I don't. He says, what do you mean? I says, we already have one. We have 7 members of the township board. We don't alienate nobody. We don't take and put 2 or 3 people off and talking about things. We talk about it right up front. And that's what this plan does. It talks about it right up front, and it leaves it up to the township board and the planning commission to come up with this stuff and plan for our future. That's what this is about, planning for Bath Township's future. Bath Township is not ever going to be a city. It's not going to be a village. It's a township. And we need to take and keep our township roots.
I understand, but I have no guarantee that you're going to add money to it. For, at least with the DDA, you have guaranteed funds. So
you could get 7 new board members in here tomorrow, and they could do away with everything you decide tonight on everything you did.
On anything. That's absolutely correct.
That's correct.
Absolutely correct. And if that's what they want to do, so be it. So I think we're done with discussion. It's now a couple minutes after 8. Well, geez, oh Pete, 7 minutes after 8. Yes, 7 minutes after 8. And we've still got a little bit of work to do. So whatever you people want to do, you do it. Okay, so do we need, that's an item for action? So roll call. And, oh, Brenda, would you read the motion back? I'm sorry, because we have to vote on the motion first, or we should vote on his motion first.
If
would we be
do you want to do it? Okay.
That's when our clerk is going to read the motion that the treasurer made, so that you understand what you're going to be voting for.
I'm gonna have Karen read it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Whatever.
So
that works.
The motion is to dissolve the DDA, return funds to the township, which will include reimbursing LCC for their part, restricting the money to the DDA that belong to the DDA in the audit for the township to the DDA district. That's what I missed. I'm sorry. To the DDA district in the audit, and the township board and the planning commission will work on as part of the capital improvement process on funding the projects each year.
All right, is there a second for that motion?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. Trustee Almarigi seconded. Any more discussion? Doesn't seem to be, so we'll take a vote.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Mr. Wisswasser?
Yeah.
Mr. Almarigi?
Yes.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Mr. Fewens Bliss?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Ms. Howe?
No. Okay, we're at new business number 13 for introduction and discussion. All right, where is he? Where's Nick? I'm looking. All right. This is the AD expansion on Coleman Road.
Yes, thank you, Madam Supervisor. So this is a proposal for an expansion of an existing business called A&D Repair,
Oh, there you are.
currently located on 8036 Coleman Road.
Okay,
The proposal is to expand the business onto the adjacent parcel to the east. As you'll find in your packet, page 103, is a letter that I drafted to the board outlining that this project had site plan approval by the Planning Commission on Tuesday, March 9th. At that same time, they recommended approval of the special use permit with the conditions outlined in the memo. There are 7 of them that were recommended by the Planning Commission. I'm happy to read those out if anyone needs me to. And then after the meeting, spent some time thinking about it, and I've added one recommended condition of my own, which is just that evidence of the easements for the private sanitary sewer connection be provided to the township. So if there are any further questions on that, I'm happy to answer them. I suspect there very well may be questions about the private sewer design.
that was only my question.
We have the applicant, Eric Goodnow, is on. He also has his engineer, Kurt Krahulik, with him. And then for the municipal side of things, we also have Brad Gursky from SCUMA. So hopefully between the 4 of us, we can answer any questions that you all have.
I had questions earlier, but Nick answered them for me, so he was very patient and very good. So anybody have any other? Do I have a motion to move it?
I believe this is just for introduction.
Okay. Is this what you want? You just want to introduce it, which means it'll come back?
Yeah, it will come back in 2 weeks for a vote.
Okay,
All
right.
Joe, did you have a question for me?
I think Al has a question too.
Was trying to support you. It's not a voting issue this evening.
Okay, thank you.
My question is on the sewer. Is this going to be an expense to the township, or is this expense to the A&D repair?
This will not be an expense to the township. It's a private sewer connection that's being designed by the applicant's engineer, with approval from SCUMA and the Planning Commission. The cost of the construction of it will be bared by the applicant, and legal counsel is in the process of drafting a maintenance agreement between the township, SCUMA, and the applicant to ensure that any maintenance costs associated with the private connection would be the responsibility of the property owner.
Another question.
Okay.
Do we have the capacity that they're going to produce to run through that line?
It's my understanding that we do.
Any other questions? Geez, guys, you came out tonight and there's nobody asking questions, so you're good.
Yeah, I got it. Is Brad still there?
Yes.
Yes, I think he's,
Can I see his picture?
I was gonna say, where is he? Now Eric's here. Eric's here.
We do have the capacity. Is that right? I understand?
Oh, there's Brad.
Brad?
Is Brad muted?
Yeah, he is.
He's unmuted. I think he's having some connection issues.
Oh, okay.
Got a little hand up. Can you help him out, Taylor?
Hang on just a second. This happens to him sometimes and he usually is able to come right back in.
Brad, can you hear me? Okay, would you send a message to Karen on if we have the capacity? And because I know we're getting close to capacity from that area.
He's shaking his head yes, so I'm assuming he
Okay.
hears you.
Thank you.
Is he still trying to communicate? Can anybody hear him?
No,
Okay. Brad, I'm gonna have to shut you down. Thank you for coming, but stay there. All right, we're gonna go to item B, which is the consumer energy gas franchise ordinance.
Sorry, I think the applicant raised his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody raised a hand.
Yeah, I did. So I
Thank you,
just had,
Aaron.
obviously me and Nick and the Planning Commission have been working on this project for some time. And it was under my understanding that the Planning Commission issued me approval for site plan back in March. So here's one issue that I have with, I have to wait another month to get vote to move forward with the site plan. So maybe with the Planning Commission with Nick, we're trying to figure out if we can get a temporary or part of the site plan, which would be balancing the site. I have a lot of site work that needs to be done. Also need to start ordering materials. And I was under the impression that with the site, the Planning Commission approved that this would be, it says right here, that it would go in front of the Board of Trustees. Now that's been 2 months. So I was questioning why my information was not brought to the board sooner.
After the Planning Commission approved the site plan, I had a conversation with Superintendent Hildebrandt, and we agreed that we would be far more comfortable waiting until the private sewer design was closer to completion, because to our knowledge at the time that the site plan was approved, the private sewer was not fully designed out.
Okay.
It's
Sure.
also my understanding there were some other elements that I believe your team worked out with our assessor, some land combinations and some other activities that needed to be finalized as well before the board could take this up.
Okay. Well, I was confused because the letter I have from the township says that it was going to be put in front of the Board of Trustees for review and voting. So my issue is surely I have a building design. It's been designed for several months. I have a lot, I'm in transportation industry. I have a lot of customers, a lot of a lot of vehicles that we repair, and I'm looking to move forward on a portion of the site plan. And I was hoping that we could make some discussion regarding that. One way or another, if we don't accept sanitary through the lift station, I'll have to engineer and design a raised mound septic system on my property.
Right.
That does not change my building. That does not change that the Planning Commission has approved the site plan. So what I'm asking is for some guidance to move forward, because if I wait much longer, I may not be able to order materials this summer. I won't be able to build. I have a lot of customers to service in this area. Not just customers, but there's we do a lot of township repair for vehicles, and waiting is very costly for me to service the community. So I'm just asking for maybe some discussion or me to have direction with Nick and the board, the Planning Commission, that maybe I could get a permit to start leveling my site. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can be done, or ordering materials for my building.
Good. No, did you check your email this evening? I had spoken with our zoning administrator this afternoon after you and I got off the phone. He said that in terms of earthwork, as long as you check with the county to see if you need a soil erosion permit, you're able to go ahead with that.
Okay.
But at least from how I've understood it in the time that I've been here, much more than that is usually, not advised or allowed, just because the special use permit is still up in the air.
But yeah, I guess I'm just confused because it was approved in March.
Well, I understand that, but there's two different pieces to it. There's the site plan and there's the special use permit.
Right.
Site plan just relates to the layout of the site, whereas the special use permit is actually whether or not you'd be allowed to operate that particular business on the site. From my standpoint, I can't anticipate this happening, but I would certainly hate for you to go through the process of, going through the entire construction process only to find out that the board has decided, not to approve the special use permit.
But that's what I'm asking. They vote and approve it contingent of the sanitary design. Everything else is done.
In terms of the conditions listed?
Yeah, other than the maintenance agreement and the sanitary, yes.
Okay. As I had stated to you on the phone today, I still do not have any confirmation that MDOT has authorized the work under the road.
I believe, Kurt, you have information on that, correct?
Yeah, Nick, we talked with Ghazi and he approved that, that submittal on Friday.
Okay.
So that is an issued permit at this point, and that's their, you don't actually send a notice, like a formal letter out. We just now have an approved MDOT construction permit.
I'll need something in writing, otherwise we won't be able to proceed.
All right.
Trustee Benzie, you had your hand up.
The applicant is allowed to move his dirt around. And congratulations, you're getting very close here. We're just crossing the T's and dotting the I's. But you are allowed to move your dirt around, get your site prepared.
Okay, I guess that's what I'm asking, is just for some guidance, because building a facility, just out of a pandemic, it could take several years to get materials.
That's true.
And this is a new world, as far as building and getting things done. Sometimes they take longer, So, I'm sure we can, I just wanted to have a discussion and bring it up. I'm sure with Nick and the Planning Commission, we're moving along very well. I just wanted some clarity on why it took 2 months, because I thought it was going in front of the Board of Trustees 2 months ago. That's the document that I have in front of me. So
who is that document from?
It's from the Planning Commission and you. It says March 9th, 2021, Planning Commission approved the site plan for A&D repair, proposed the expansion to 8040 Coleman Road. They are recommending approval of the special use permit. And with these conditions, this will be sent to Board of Trustee for review and voting.
Yep. So as I said, that's the memo that was drafted for the board. I always do that to provide them with the list of the recommended conditions. You are correct, the site plan was approved, but the special use, that's why it's highly unusual that the board will introduce and vote on an item on the same evening.
Understood.
Any
So
more
did I
discussion?
read that? Did I read your schedule right? Your next scheduled meeting is June 7th.
June 7th.
And then this would be taken up and have a vote at that date.
Yes.
So Eric, not quite a month out.
Should be, is it the 7th?
It is the 7th.
Okay. Phew. It's going fast.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for the questions, the discussion. Now, who's going to speak on the ordinance for, we did the consumer energy franchise, right?
No, we didn't, but
I didn't think so.
No, but can we go back to Brad? I think his mic is working now. He thinks maybe he can chime in and answer Al's questions.
All right,
Can you hear
Brad, can
me?
you, yep, good job.
Excellent. I apologize. Too many things going on at once, but Al, I apologize for your question. I hope you understood, but yeah, so we have reviewed capacity. I've been in communication with Eric and Kurt. Jonathan and our team was also in works with them, and no, there's no issue with the capacity, and we explained to Eric and his team that, you know, the lift station that would be accepting their essentially long private lead underneath the old 78 there over to station 206, we would need to really monitor that in the long run and ultimately really test their effluent to ensure that you know, they're not dumping anything they shouldn't be, and ultimately that they're releasing the amount of sewage that they anticipate releasing, and we're not bringing in infiltration into the system. So, you know, based on the designs that Kurt and Eric have given us at this time, we're pretty confident that you know, their system is adequate, and we shouldn't have any issues.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Nice job.
I apologize again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Karen, are you going to do the consumer energy? Because it doesn't say.
I'm sorry. Yes, I am.
Okay.
So this was the first time I've seen something like this. This actually came to Clerk Kathy McQueen's email account right around the time that she passed away. So we missed the deadline that was set for passing this, but I reached out to Consumers Energy and I requested an extension in order to deal with this, and they happily granted that. What I included for you in the packet behind this, which I realize is not the same thing, but I wanted you to be aware that we had an existing electric franchise ordinance with them. So I wanted you to have some history in that, and that was signed some time ago, back in 1996. When I saw this, it's a 30-year agreement, which kind of threw me off. But we have a current agreement with them for electric for 30 years. And the proposal in front of you is for gas for the same amount of time. If you have questions, unless somebody at the table has information about this, I will have to reach out to consumers and ask them to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Joe, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, the only question I have, Superintendent, is this is the same ordinance, 44, correct?
It will be numbered differently, but
Okay.
it'll be in the same range of ordinances that it's under currently.
So one is for electricity and one is for gas.
Yeah, number
Okay.
44, the electric is already done.
Right.
But the
Okay.
gas, yeah, the gas will be a different number, but similar in scope.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I will also make sure we fix the information on it. It has former Clerk McQueen's name on it, and I'll make sure that that's corrected, but it came to us as a PDF, so I put it in how it came to us.
Right.
Marie?
Yes.
Karen, what happened with the WOW contract?
That has gone to the Planning Commission, and they're having some discussion on it over there at their meetings.
Okay.
So I'm positive it'll come back to us within a meeting or two of theirs.
Okay.
All right, any other question? Oh, Ryan, go ahead.
There's a misspelling in here, Karen. Do you just want me to send that to you? I know you
Yes,
said it was in a
please.
PDF.
Probably a number.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, is there any other? Okay, doesn't appear to be. So items for action, number B is in boy. Apparently we have none, so we're good with new business. Superintendent report.
Thank you. I should have just left my mask off. Thank you, Madam Chair. We've had quite a few new employees start in the recent weeks. Brittany Matsumoto started as our senior programs and services coordinator for the senior center. For the last couple of weeks, she's been calling our seniors and getting a feel for anything they might need from us, if they need help obtaining a COVID shot or COVID vaccination, or if they might be in need of some medical equipment or anything else that we can help with. So she's been really enjoying our seniors. She met a few of them during the meal pickup that we have here at the township on Thursdays. So I feel like she's jumped both feet in and she's making some new acquaintances and the people that she'll be working with when the senior center does open. Tonight on our meeting, we had Felicia, who prefers to be called Fee. She is our planning intern for the summer. She's a very talented young lady and she's already assisting us as well in changing some things in the township and doing some research. So welcome, Fee. Samantha Evans joined us as our front office assistant. When Brenda Challenger became clerk, she chose April Dunham as her deputy clerk. And so we had to fill April's position. So that's been filled by Samantha, a recent college graduate. And we will also have a new DPW employee joining us next week. His name is Dallas English. And he's a very talented young man. And I think he'll be able to, with the skills and experience that he has, begin making a contribution immediately. So I'm very pleased with that. I wanted to note that the capital improvement program launched last week. All of the information is on our website. And if Nick could help me, I know his screen is off. We're taking applications through what date, Nick?
That would be through Friday, June 18th.
Okay, so Friday, June 18th. Everything has been put online and there's actually an electronic form that can be filled out and you can attach documents to any submissions that you make. And of course, for anybody that has failing internet or doesn't have a good connection, we have documents, hard copy documents available at the township for you to pick up and use in submitting your proposal. Everyone is back to work in person in the office, of course, except the senior center employees, the cooks. That will be some time before we're able to have the congregate meal program. But we're keeping a very close eye on that. And we're watching the state and we're watching Tri-County Office on Aging for any guidance that comes from them in order to help us. As many of you know, the CDC and the Department of Health and Human Services recently changed mask requirements and social distancing requirements for people that are fully vaccinated. So we're going to be looking at that for the impact it'll have on our recreation programs, our senior center, and any rental of our facilities that citizens may use our buildings for. So we're just still trying to keep everybody safe as things adjust. And finally, tonight, I want to remind everybody that the memorial for the Bath School bombing will be held tomorrow, Tuesday night, May 18th at 7 p.m. And that's held each year at James Cousins Memorial Park. I will be on hand as soon as our SCUMA meeting is done. And our communications coordinator, Taylor Reeves, will be on hand. And I believe she will be live streaming that to the Bath Museum Facebook page. So any of you that cannot come out tomorrow night can join us via Facebook and watch that. It's a very moving ceremony. I joined Kenny Church and Jim Church last year. Sue Hagerman was there. There were quite a few people there, and we read off the names of those that were lost in that massacre. And I'll tell you, it was really moving when you say someone's name and know what happened on that ground. It's a very moving experience. So I would recommend if you can't join us, that you at least tune in and watch it later. I think it'll be worth your time to kind of connect with what happened in our community. So that's all I have tonight, unless you have questions for me.
I have one question.
Sure.
Your CDC description that you have, where does that leave the board?
At this time, there is still a local state of emergency. So as understood from you, as long as there was a local state of emergency at Clinton County, you would continue meetings via Zoom. I'm certainly open to your feedback. And if you would like to discuss that, we can always have that on the next
Sure.
agenda for future, for more discussion, I should say.
Well, it'd be interesting to know how many are fully vaccinated and how many aren't, which, makes a difference as to whether you meet in person or not.
Yeah. I do know that there, despite most of our staff being fully vaccinated, we are all still wearing masks.
Sure.
I think that people want to rely on the science, and the science changed in about a week. So there are still some people that are very hesitant to quit social distancing, and so I think employees specifically are trying to respect other people's boundaries and still maintain 6 feet, still maintain mask use. So though
Sure.
the guidance has changed, I think some people will still be doing that for quite some time.
I think that's probably true because they don't know who's vaccinated. I have my passport, if that makes it. I haven't laminated it yet, but there it is. All right, public statements 2. Thank you, Karen, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
If anyone would like
Okay.
to make a public statement at this time, you can dial *9 to raise your hand, raise your Zoom hand or your physical hand. Phone number ending in 040, you can dial *6 to unmute.
Will Tyler White from Main Street again. Well, I had high hopes for this meeting with the Downtown Development Authority,
Too bad.
which were dashed by what I think was disgraceful actions by this board, other than Trustee Benzie and Supervisor Howe, who voted against the motion to disband the DDA, which was a meaningless vote because you cannot disband a DDA legally until it has completed the projects for what it was created. And I have to dispel some of the misperceptions that Trustee Almarigi was putting out there about DDAs. The Ann Arbor DDA is one of the most successful and best in the state. They just finished a new plan going to 2033. They work on a 10 or 20-year plan. That's what we have in Bath, is a 20-year plan, as Trustee Fewens Bliss pointed out. And I was really disappointed in the lack of understanding of what a downtown development authority does. It was created specifically for the purposes that you guys are all espousing, and especially Supervisor Howe on developing the Main Street, economic development. This is the only and the best tool for small towns and large towns to use to develop their downtown. You turn it over to the township board, as Treasurer Wiswasser pointed out, the next board just undo anything you do. So if you want economic development, this is the tool to do it, the DDA. The township is not going to do it. They can't do it. A lot of the stuff that the DDA can do, the township can't do. And the other big project that we were saving money up for is the Webster Road development, all the way from the freeway to Slate Road, with brand new street lights, all the same kind, and all going down Main Street, so it looks like a real town. And the township's not going to do it. The DDA is setting aside money to do it. It's in the plan to do it. It's not a new idea. No, infrastructure is not new ideas. You don't need new people with new ideas. The plan is there. You fix the roads. You fix the lights. You get new residents down here. It's what the downtown needs is residents. The township isn't going to draw new residents here. A downtown development authority will do that. That's what they're supposed to do. So I can't believe that you would even consider sending money back, tax money that we've already collected. That's crazy. And over the next 20 years, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And by the way, the Utica Downtown Development Authority was disbanded because it actually did accomplish its goals. And it's been around, did a lot of things. And at this point, it was they looked at the tax structure, the way it was working, and it didn't work out financially, tax-wise. So they could disband it because it had done its job, and they did it because it made tax sense. Bath Township, it doesn't make any sense to disband a DDA, and you can't do it anyway. So, and another thing, Trustee Almarigi said there's no clear plan. Well, of course there's a clear plan. Trustee Fewens Bliss held it up. Look it up. I think it's a real slap in the face to the residents of this township, the hundreds of residents, and the 3 previous boards that have worked on this Downtown Development Authority for 10 years, for 4 of you or 5 of you to say, hey, forget all you. We're going to go a different direction. Well, I'm sorry, you can't. And if you try to, you're going to get a lot of pushback. So your vote was meaningless because you can't disband the DDA. And I hope the next meeting you at least will bring up the subject. You were remiss in not even bringing up the appointees. You could vote on them one at a time. Okay, I like this one, don't like that one. Get 4 or 5 people on the board, get it going. You're running out of time here. That plan needs to get done for the 2022 deadline for the 2023 projects. So I'm very disappointed, and I hope you straighten it out the next meeting. And I'm sorry for being long-winded, but it just doesn't make sense. I just don't get it. You need to get it together and get these projects going. All right, thanks for listening.
Phone number ending in 394. You can unmute by dialing *6.
Good evening. This is Judy Gardy. First, I agree with Will. I think that disbanding the DDA was a real mistake. My experience in working with the planning board on capital improvement projects has been very disappointing. And I think that to try to put this work back onto the township planning board doesn't really make any sense. But secondly, I just would like to announce that Friends of Park Lake has purchased a boat cleaning station, and we've worked with Karen and DPW, and hopefully by the end of the month, we will have a boat cleaning station at the boat launch. Friends of Park Lake has been trying to get the township to install a boat wash. This is a cleaning station. It requires no water and no power. So we have raised the money. We have purchased the boat cleaning station, and hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have a boat cleaning station, which is a gift from Friends of Park Lake to the township board. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to make a public statement at this time? I do not see anyone additional.
Okay. Oh, we hung up the 394.
Yes, she was
okay.
done making her statement.
Okay, because that's still showing on the board.
She's still on the meeting. She's just no longer speaking.
Oh, I see. The phone is okay, gotcha. All right, board comments. Anyone want to start it? Up, there's always the first one is the toughest one. Go ahead, Trustee Friedman Willis.
I like to think of it as being a trendsetter rather than it being too tough. So I'll set the trend. I want to welcome the new staff that the superintendent described us hiring. Excited to have new folks, new talent coming in to help us grow and develop as a township. thanks to the volunteers who are putting on the memorial tomorrow. I'm disappointed I can't make it. I've got some family scheduling issues, so I'll be there in spirit, but thanks to those who continue to keep this issue alive for us, for those who are here.
Yep.
And then finally, I'm certainly disappointed we needed to take the steps we took today in the DDA. I think I'm the only board member left on the board here who actually was part of the board that approved the DDA. This was not what we had hoped long-term. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen what we were hoping to see over the course of the last decade, and it didn't seem like there was hope moving forward. So disappointed that we needed to take that step, but hopefully we will reinvest the money as we described tonight into that DDA corridor. Thank you.
Al?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Joe?
I'm all set tonight.
Good. Jason?
Set.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Is
I'm
that
all set. Thank you.
okay? All right, Clerk Brenda.
I'm all set.
Okay. I couldn't agree more with the disappointment that Trustee Bliss talks about, only I'm disappointed for a different reason. I'm disappointed because I really am sorry to see the DDA go. As for disbanding it, that's an issue we're going to have to look at to do, but I do think it is possible. I've always thought it was possible. But I am sorry that you're doing it. And I also agree with Trustee Friedman Bliss with regards to the new appointees. That's fabulous. I've met some of them and they are awesome. It's going to be a really interesting group of people. They're very people oriented, which is incredibly helpful for the township. So yes, congratulations. And we look forward to many years of them working with us. And as for May 18th, yes, I hope some of you will join with them. I have been personally asked to come, so we'll see. It's my son's birthday that day, May 18th. There's a lot of things happening in that month. But anyway, so that was all for me tonight. So thanks everyone for coming, including our special guests, which was very nice of them to take the time, even though they needed to do so. It was still nice to see them. And I'm hoping that our board will be able to meet in person. This Zoom thing has always been kind of an interesting dynamic of working with it. So as we say that, we'll need an adjournment. So anybody going to make, go ahead, Al.
Set.
You didn't call on Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. Good Lord, you're supposed to wave your hand and say, hey, I'm here.
He did.
I'm glad he did because I didn't see him.
I've been here all night, Marie.
I know you have, but I didn't see your hand, so I apologize.
I just would like to thank the board for everything they do. I'd like to thank Mr. White for his comments. I personally look forward to taking and moving forward and retaining our downtown development district and taking it on as a project, a money-saving project, and for that district. I see good things happening to that, and I think it's time for the township to make some changes. Changes are good. Progressive changes are even better. And I think this is a more progressive change, and I think this is the way we're kind of heading with our community. Thank you, everybody. Have a nice night.
Thanks, Steve. I am sorry. I apologize again for missing you, even though you have been here all night. My list missed you. So thank you, Al, for that. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
We adjourn.
Second.
Vote.
Mr. Almarigi,
Yes.
Mr. Benzi,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens Bliss,
Yes.
myself, yes, Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans.
Yes.
For you.
Thank you.
One, I think you missed Mr. Wiswasser.
No, I was first.
Oh, you were first. Gotcha. Didn't hear it. All right. Good night, all. Thank you for coming.
Good night.